that's, again, I just can't emphasize, at the end of this fiscal year, we have 1.9. 3 years ago, we were sitting at $20 million. So that's money that's coming back in to housing and closing out all those projects that I just went through that we closed out last fiscal year. The next slide just breaks down the uses of funds for you, and as I went through it, I went through each of those categories to tell you exactly how many funds were put in there and what was spent. You'll see that in each of the line items for last fiscal year, from the operating 1937 all the way down to the action planning, every one was spent down to zero. The only one we didn't was the ICDG, and that's because the war came mid-year. So those funds will carry over, and as I said, that'll be completed on time. Sources of funding again. The sources of funding, it just follows the same ones that were shown earlier. We project that the total funds coming in per year. The actual amount we have to get on hand to take through each of those. The inspections that we have, we broke that down for you also.
Robert, aren't you hungry? You didn't eat anything.
I had a Gatorade that's kind of filling. It has the electrolytes and sugar.
The total number of units that we have under our control is 419 units. And last year we went and inspected 298 of those. We estimate that
You think it's American talking?
So there still is a very big need out there. I mean, even though it sounds, I know that I'm painting a picture that it sounds like a lot of stuff's being renovated, there's big improvements, but we're only touching the tip of the iceberg. There's still so many needs and so many communities and so many homes that need rehabilitation funds and have to be done. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page with that. And just to let you know, the association hasn't lost sight of that either. We know that we need to continue to acquire rehabilitation funds to repair the homes. The next portion is our self-monitoring assessment report. We're required, along with the APR, to also do what's called self-monitoring. It means that we internally, either we contract out or internally, we take a look at a division or two departments to determine if we're in compliance. This is separate and apart from the auditors who will come in December. So we do have outside auditors every year who come in and fill the reports on. You'll get those reports in April. But this is the self-monitoring, which was done by Hester Rios in her office. She did the self-monitoring. Last year, when we did the self-monitoring, we had a number of findings that were carried over internally, and those all related to failure to update our policies. And last year, those were all finished and closed out. So when Hester started this self-monitoring this year, there were no outstanding findings for her to go back and take a look at. So she didn't have to go back and recheck if they closed out the ones from the previous year because there was nothing outstanding. She did work with an outside entity, the nation's treasurer's office, loaned us Mr. Ramirez, who's an auditor, to work with Hester to come in and follow her around. But she gets a check sheet from HUD as to what she's supposed to look for through files. She goes through, pulls files, interviews employees, and then she did the account and the residential departments. She reviewed the 2013 Indian Housing Plan with them. I went through verbal documentation, verbal information, and then written documentation. What she found was that she did 5 personnel interviews lasting 15 minutes to an hour. Interview questions ranged from 12 to 56 from the questionnaire for each department. The files that reviewed were organized up to date on recertifications. The employees were aware of the HUD regulations, provided documentations, and also found that we are now in the process of updating our policies on a regular basis. And I know our board is here, and they can tell you that we just did review on the policies, and we haven't looked at them in the last year. Almost every board meeting, there's this new policy that we're taking a look, tweaking, or updating to be consistent with any changes in federal law. So we're making making that an ongoing process with all the managers to keep the policies consistently reviewed and brought up to date. The number of findings for last year, there were no findings of anything irregular which required that. So her report as part of the APR will be submitted to HUD. And that completes the report that I have. Again, I just want to thank you for taking part and coming on the tour, and hopefully it gave you just a visualization to put along with the reports that you get and to see things as to what we're doing in the field. A small example, because that same kind of construction is occurring throughout the nation in different villages, different communities. It also gave you a chance, I think, to interact with staff, put faces to names, and see where we work at and where we're at. So, thank you very much, and any questions that you have.
Again, we'll go ahead and open up to questions, and then again, I'm hopefully trying to keep this as focused as we can. This is only on the administration portion of it, or on the projects that we've seen. I'm hoping that the housing will set up another session specifically on other housing outside of that. But I think right now, with time and everything, hopefully your questions can be surrounding specifically to the elderly project, or any of the home renovations that we saw, or the administration portion of the tour. Please specifically tailor your questions to those areas. Director. On the overall presentation. Okay, well, it looks like there isn't any questions. I think you did a good job. Certainly want to thank your staff, as well as the workers, actually, the actual workers that are out there that are doing these projects, as I think it's important to recognize their work, and moving and being out there and trying to get homes out there for members of the nation. But I think more so the elders, I think that was a long time coming. I think now that they've gotten taken care of, that it is good that you're actually addressing concerns not only specifically for the house, but in the interest of the residents there itself, especially specifically the elders. Certainly want to thank you and your staff for that. And we will see you in November. So we'll go ahead and stand in recess for lunch, and I know that there's been a request for several meetings for lunch. I think it's culture and budget and finance, and then also what was the other one? I think that was the only one. So we'll go ahead and stand in recess for lunch until 2 o'clock, 1:30, 2. Okay, 2 o'clock. Thank you, Council.